They were the faces of Hollywood's golden-era child stars who captured the hearts of millions. But what happened when the camera stopped rolling? When the Klieg lights dimmed and the adoring crowds went home? Behind the velvet curtain of Tinseltown, a different story was often unfolding, a narrative of pressure, exploitation, and dreams that curdled into nightmares. For every star that ascended, another flickered and died out, lost to the unforgiving machinery of fame. Tonight, we pull back that curtain, exploring the chilling, heartbreaking, and often bizarre tales of the child stars who disappeared. Join me as we journey into the heart of Hollywood's forgotten tragedies. Bobby Driscoll, a name once synonymous with youthful exuberance and Hollywood dreams, was Walt Disney's golden child. He wasn't just another child actor, he was the first human actor signed to a long-term contract by the studio, a testament to his undeniable talent and potential. He lent his voice and likeness to Peter Pan, bringing the iconic character to life for a generation. He embodied the spirit of the boy who would never grow up, a role that tragically became a cruel prophecy, foreshadowing his own stunted adulthood. He captivated audiences in Song of the South, and embarked on thrilling adventures in Treasure Island, solidifying his place as a box office draw. His performance in The Window was so compelling that he won a juvenile Oscar, a symbol of his early promise. But as puberty hit, his boyish charm, once his greatest asset, began to fade, and Disney, ever pragmatic, dropped him from his contract. Suddenly cast out from the world he knew, Bobby struggled to find his place, grappling with an identity crisis that many child stars face. He drifted into the fringes of the counterculture, seeking solace and belonging, but tragically succumbed to the allure of heroin addiction. His life spiraled into a series of arrests, each one a further descent into despair. He faced poverty, a stark contrast to the opulent world he once inhabited. The once bright star was reduced to a mugshot, a haunting image of his shattered potential. In 1968, a tragic end. His body was found in an abandoned New York tenement, a forgotten corner of a city that had once held so much promise for him. He was unidentified and unclaimed, buried in a pauper's grave, his identity lost to the system. Over a year later, his mother, clinging to hope, finally learned the devastating truth through fingerprint records, a bureaucratic confirmation of her worst fears. The boy who played Peter Pan, the eternal child, died alone and anonymous, a stark and heartbreaking irony. He became a lost boy in the truest sense, a symbol of innocence lost, who never found his way home either literally or figuratively. His story serves as a haunting reminder of how quickly Hollywood can turn its back on those it once embraced, discarding them when their star begins to fade. The magic that initially propelled him to stardom ultimately became the very shadow that consumed him, obscuring his talent and potential. Bobby Driscoll's disappearance wasn't just a career ending, it was a life tragically lost to the relentless machinery of fame, a cautionary tale of the industry's dark side. He remains Hollywood's most tragic lost boy, a poignant reminder of the fleeting nature of fame and the enduring cost of its pursuit. Carl Switzer, known as Alfalfa from our gang, was the awkward, lovable kid everyone adored. His off-key singing and cowlick made him a Saturday matinee favorite. But when he aged out, Hollywood had no place for a former Alfalfa. Typecast and struggling, he took bit parts and odd jobs, haunted by his childhood fame. Trouble followed, run-ins with the law, financial woes, and a reputation for being difficult. The easygoing charm faded, replaced by bitterness and regret. In 1959, at just 31, he was shot and killed in a dispute over a $50 debt. The circumstances were murky, but the end was senseless. Alfalfa, the icon of innocence, died in violence and obscurity. His vanishing from Hollywood was complete, a brutal end to a life that began with laughter. Fame, for Carl Switzer, was a fleeting shadow. Scotty Beckett, a name that once shone brightly in the constellation of Hollywood stars. He was once the beautiful, soulful-eyed star of our gang, charming audiences with his youthful exuberance, and later, captivating hearts in the Jolson story. He seemed destined for greatness, a trajectory seemingly etched in the Hollywood hills themselves. As he matured, he transitioned to serious roles, showcasing a range that belied his young age. He shared the screen with legends, holding his own and earning critical acclaim for his performances. The future looked incredibly bright. But beneath the glittering surface, the pressures of fame began to take their toll on the young star. The cracks began to show with arrests for drunk driving, a sign of a deeper struggle. Violence became another unfortunate chapter in his story, further tarnishing his image. and the insidious grip of drugs began to overshadow his undeniable talent, slowly eroding the foundation of his promising career. His career stalled, the momentum lost to a series of unfortunate choices. Leading roles were replaced by B-movies and lurid tabloid headlines, each more damaging than the last. Each sensational headline chipped away at the fond memory of the bright-eyed innocent child star the world once adored. Attempts at a comeback proved futile. The magic seemed to have vanished. Hollywood, ever fickle, had moved on, leaving Scotty Beckett behind. In 1968, after a violent altercation that hinted at a life spiraling out of control, he checked himself into a nursing home, seeking solace perhaps, but was tragically found dead just 2 days later. The official cause of death was listed as an overdose, but whether it was accidental or intentional, or if injuries sustained played a role, remained shrouded in uncertainty. He was only 38 years old, a life cut tragically short. Scotty Beckett's story serves as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the pitfalls that can accompany fame and fortune. He was a boy who flew too close to the Hollywood sun, and the consequences were devastating. His downward spiral was a public spectacle, a painful descent that ultimately proved fatal. The bright promise of youth, the potential for a brilliant career, was tragically lost to the darkness that lurked behind the glittering curtain of Hollywood. Jackie Kugan, the world's first true child superstar, a name synonymous with early Hollywood magic. He captured the hearts of audiences worldwide, stealing hearts in the kid alongside the legendary Charlie Chaplin. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, catapulting young Jackie to unprecedented fame. As his star ascended, he earned millions, a staggering sum for the era. Young and trusting, he placed his faith in his parents, entrusting them to safeguard his burgeoning fortune. He believed his earnings were in safe hands. But as the years passed and he came of age, the harsh reality began to dawn. He made a devastating discovery. It was all gone, vanished, without a trace. The fortune he had amassed had been spent carelessly and selfishly by his mother and stepfather. The legal battle that followed was a landmark case, a fight for his rights and the rights of all child performers. This bitter dispute ultimately led to the creation of the groundbreaking Kugan Act, a piece of legislation that would forever change the landscape of child actor protection. This act ensured the protection of future child actors' earnings, safeguarding them from exploitation and mismanagement. Kugan's personal tragedy became a catalyst for change, forever altering the way Hollywood treated its youngest stars. But despite his contribution, his own career never fully recovered from the shadow of the scandal. The scandal, a constant reminder of his past, and the difficult struggle to transition from a beloved child star to respected adult roles, ultimately saw him fade from the bright lights of the limelight, his early fame a distant memory. Years later he experienced a resurgence, finding a second act as the unforgettable Uncle Fester in the Addams Family. But the bright shining star of the kid, the boy who had captured the world's imagination, had vanished for decades, replaced by the weight of experience. Jackie Kugan's story serves as a poignant reminder that sometimes the greatest and most significant battles are fought not under the glare of the cameras, but off-screen, in the quiet corners of life. His enduring legacy is the hard-won protection of generations of child actors, a testament to his personal struggle. Fame, in its fickle nature, gave him everything a young boy could dream of: adoration, wealth, and a place in history. And in a cruel twist of fate, it ultimately took it all away, leaving behind a cautionary tale of innocence lost and battles fought. Shirley Temple was a national treasure, but for every film she headlined, there were other talented children cast in her shadow. Actors like Jane Withers and Tom Brown were crucial to the formula, but they could never outshine Shirley. The studio system poured resources into her stardom, leaving others as mere accessories. When their usefulness ended, so did their careers. Most faded into obscurity, their names lost to trivia. Their stories are a poignant reminder of the collateral damage of superstardom. For every child who became a household name, dozens were left behind. They were part of the magic, but vanished when the spell broke. Margaret OBrien was Hollywood's go-to for heartbreaking realism, stealing scenes in Meet Me in St. Louis and winning a juvenile Oscar. As she grew up, the roles dried up. Hollywood didn't know what to do with a serious young woman. Unlike others, her disappearance was a quiet, graceful retreat. She focused on education and life outside the spotlight, choosing self-preservation over struggle. Rumors swirled, but the truth was simple. She grew up and moved on. Her Oscar was stolen and missing for decades, only to be returned years later. A symbol of her lost stardom. Margaret OBrien's vanishing was not a tragedy, but a conscious choice. Sometimes the best escape is simply walking away. Peggy Garner's performance in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn was so perfect, it became a golden cage. She won a juvenile Oscar and critical acclaim, but Hollywood had no place for a thoughtful, intense young woman. The roles dried up, and she struggled with the label of former child star. She once lamented being a has-been at 17. Her later life was quiet, working outside the industry. Her disappearance wasn't scandalous, just a slow, quiet fade. Peggy Garner's greatest role came too early, leaving her forever in its shadow. In Hollywood, it's hard to keep growing. Jane Withers was the anti-Shirley Temple. Brash, mischievous, and beloved for it. She became a box office draw with her own series of films, managed her career and finances wisely, and saw the writing on the wall as she grew up. Instead of fighting for leading roles, she pivoted to character parts, extending her career. At 21, she retired to focus on family, a rare, voluntary exit from Hollywood. Years later, she returned on her own terms, becoming a beloved character actress and TV commercial icon. Jane Withers' story is the rare exception, a child star who disappeared by choice and found happiness. Her vanishing was not an end, but a strategic intermission. Sometimes, the best move is knowing when to leave. Before Shirley Temple, there was Baby Peggy, Diana Sarah Carey, the original child superstar of the silent era. She made over 150 films, earning a mythical fortune, but grueling hours and her father's mismanagement led to disaster. By age 7, her career was over and her family broke. Forced into vaudeville, she became a forgotten relic of a bygone era. To escape, she changed her name and lived in anonymity for decades. In her later years, she re-emerged as an author and film historian advocating for child actors' rights. Baby Peggy vanished, but Diana Sarah Carey endured, becoming the last living silent film star. Her story is one of survival and reinvention. She reclaimed her voice, giving hope to those lost in Hollywood's shadows. Fame faded, but her legacy lived on. Bonita Granville was the face of Nancy Drew, a teen idol and accomplished actress. After steady work in the 1940s, she grew restless with routine roles. In 1947, she married Jack Rather and transitioned from acting to producing, most notably the Lassie TV series. Her disappearance from the screen was a move to greater power behind it. Bonita Granville's vanishing act was a success. She became a respected businesswoman and philanthropist. She didn't fade into obscurity, she simply changed her job title. The girl who played Nancy Drew solved her final case, building a fulfilling life after Hollywood. She found a new sky to shine in. These child stars once lit up the silver screen, but their stories remind us that fame can be fleeting. And sometimes the brightest lights fade into the deepest shadows. From Bobby Driscoll's Pauper's Grave to Margaret OBrien's quiet dignity, each story is a piece of Hollywood's complex mosaic. They were children navigating adult pressures, their legacies complicated. We remember the joy they brought, but also the price they paid. Their films may be black and white, but their stories echo in 1,000 shades of gray. For every star that shines, another vanishes into the night.